Hello and welcome to Disney with the Ducks. I am your host for tonight, Lonnie G. And this is a special show because it's part two of Cheryl sharing with us her epic Disney World cruise plus visit. Right? So what is that? Is it land sea? She has her own personal. She had a land sea land. You can't beat that. Cheryl, thanks for putting up with us, staying on to continue our conversation. But before we do, if you like Cheryl's interview and you want to support the Ducks, please feel free to go into your algorithm of choice and drop us a review, right? Tell Cheryl how much you enjoyed her telling her story and sharing her epic vacation. 5 stars would be nice. And if you really, really want to contribute, you can hop on our Facebook page and kind of join the conversation and the discussion, right? So you can share what you did for Christmas and for New Year's. It wasn't as good as Cheryl, I guarantee you, but you can talk about it, right? So here we go. So Cheryl, last time we left off, it was a new year, right? So January 1st, bringing it in at Disney. What did you do?
I went to Magic Kingdom because I thought maybe everyone's hungover and tired, and this would be a good time to go to Magic Kingdom and do some rides. So I did go to Magic Kingdom. I spent a couple hours there, and then somehow, at this point, I'm still sick. I'm still not feeling 100%. But as I ended up at Disney Springs again in the late afternoon. And, this is a long trip. Folks, it's expensive. So to be eating out all the time. So I'm now looking for like happy hour deals. And I'm like, in the name of research, I'm going to scout out like all the happy hours at Disney Springs and kind of. So I went to happy hour at STK. They have a very extensive happy hour menu. Lots of drinks, lots of food. I had 2 really good drinks there, and then I had a small hamburger, which was very good, and it was relatively inexpensive. And then I went to my friend's tree house at Saratoga Springs, because everyone thinks the Saratoga Springs tree houses, they're kind of in the middle of the nowhere, and they say, you need a car to be staying there, and they had a car. But if you're at the end of Disney Springs where Cirque du Soleil is, it's a beautiful walk over to the tree houses. You kind of walk towards Saratoga Springs. Eventually you cross a bridge over the water, and then you're like walking through this forest. I did it several times because I went over to their place a few times to hang out with them. And it was such a lovely walk. So yeah, went to their treehouse, hung out with them. And then in the evenings, what I would do, because it's then kind of late at night and it felt creepy to go out into the woods and find a bus that you would then have to take to Saratoga Springs to get on a different bus. And there's no resort to resort transportation. So I would just Uber back to my resort. I will say Riviera, it's very centrally located. It is close to everything. So even from the tree houses to Saratoga Springs to Riviera was like a $5 to $6 Uber ride. It didn't take long at all. So did that. And then the next day was my
first. I have a question about your friend, the 3-bedroom Saratoga Springs treehouse. Did she decorate it at all for the holidays? I kind of already know the answer to this, but
the cabin and the treehouse, they had a little mini Christmas tree. They had lights. They had ornaments. And actually, when they were at Copper Creek, they had some sort of external, like a flag outside, because the cabins are magnetic, like the cruise ship rooms.
Oh,
able to hang up this big Christmas flag outside the cabin. So they're totally into decorating, and it was very festive.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And her son and daughter-in-law brought like a cocktail machine. It's like a Keurig for cocktails. So they had this in their cabin as well, where you can like put a little capsule in and like pull the lever, and you have the machine hooked up to like, say, a bottle of bourbon, and it makes you like an old fashioned. It was hanging out in their treehouse was fun. So
it does sound fun.
Yeah. So they Christmas decorations and booze. So we had a great time.
Yeah, what's not to like? Okay, so that's how you spend. I do have, and now I'm going to backtrack one more question. So Run Disney 2024 marathon weekend, I quote unquote only ran Goofy, but we were there on Friday, on Thursday evening going into Friday morning. So I heard the race announcers Friday morning for the 10K from my room at the Riviera. I could hear them all because they were in the Epcot parking lot. So my question was, did you hear, you didn't make it to the midnight fireworks, but did you hear all the hoopla coming from Epcot at Riviera? Did you hear all the bum, bum, bum bass and everything coming from all the DJs?
No.
Wow, that's
I
awesome.
mean, I heard the fireworks when they were going off, but no.
Okay, all right. That was my second follow-up question. Okay, I'm finished now. Now we can go back to, now we can actually catch up back on our day. So that was the first.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Great.
then January 2nd, I had my first day in Animal Kingdom. So I've been there all this time and I haven't yet been to Animal Kingdom. But I like to think about like, where am I staying and where the parks are? And prior to that, I was at Copper Creek, which is like, Animal Kingdom is the complete opposite end. So I thought I'll wait to go to Animal Kingdom when I get to Riviera. Because again, Riviera is very centrally located. None of the parks are very far. So I did my first day at Animal Kingdom. I had breakfast at Satuli Canteen. As you may know, they brought back the breakfast. So I had this like
And
sliced
how did you
steak
feel about it?
with eggs. I loved it. It was wonderful. It was delicious. The sliced steak I had with like an egg frittata, and it was absolutely high quality breakfast for a theme park, for anywhere actually. But at this point, I'm still feeling a little bit under the weather, so I relax the rest of the day, knowing that I've got some big runs coming up in a couple weeks. And then the next day, I took it slow again, and we had my friends had what they called their family dinner in their treehouse, and because we are like family, they invited me over, which was lovely. And James made some nice steaks on the grill, because when you're at a treehouse, you have a grill on your deck, and yeah, you've got a full kitchen, pots, pans, and everything. So we had a nice meal at their treehouse, which was lovely.
Very nice.
And I would say now I'm starting to feel better. And then the next day, we all, Jen, James, and their kids and I, we went to 1900 Park Fair, which was a very difficult reservation to get. But we had two Tiana lovers in our group, and we were very excited to go, especially since it's reopened. And I will tell you, we were disappointed.
Oh, which meal did you go for? Breakfast?
Breakfast at 1900 Park Fair. So the first disappointment was they said Tiana's not there today. Yeah, so we had no Tiana.
And that's like your main reason for going?
That was pretty much the main reason for going.
No.
And I know that they say in the fine print the characters are not guaranteed. I think the replacement was Snow White. We saw Cinderella. We saw Aladdin. And
Mirabelle?
Mirabelle, thank you. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been really disappointing.
Yeah, Tiana. And then the food, it was salty. Like we all thought, like it was just very salty. Somebody went crazy with salt shaker, and like the biscuit gravy, the ham, like the potatoes, pretty much everything we had, we all felt was salty. So
maybe it was the same chef who was at Ale and Compass breakfast. Maybe they.
Well, I mean, Tiana does now run a salt mine, so she literally, I mean, they had all this extra salt. They were over there just kitchen, just sprinkling up everything.
Apparently, there because she was busy in the back salting the food. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why she couldn't come out. She was back there salting it up.
Yeah, and these character meals, they are expensive. So we all kind of left like feeling, not gonna rush to do that again for sure. So, but that's okay. You know, you win some, you lose some. I think it's like that on every Disney trip. So, But then I will say, believe it or not, you get hungry again. You think you can never eat again. And then later on that afternoon, we had a reservation for an early dinner at Skipper Canteen because we went into Magic Kingdom. And we had, Jennifer and I both had the duck fried rice. It was excellent. It was excellent. So there we won one.
And no one talks about that restaurant, and I think it's really good. I really do.
Yeah.
You just don't hear about it. People aren't trying to get reservations there. I've eaten there a couple times, and I've always enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So.
The next day, so then we walked around to the new Poly Tower because my friends hadn't seen it yet. We took a tour because my DVC guide was there. So he gave us a tour of the rooms, and they're very beautiful. They're really nice. I was very tempted to buy more points, but I didn't because.
Well, I mean, they have a Tower Studio, so maybe you can, just go get a couple of points.
So the Tower Studios there are quite a bit bigger than the Tower Studio at Riviera. Yeah.
Really?
But I don't love the layout. The bathroom sink is in the room with you. So if you are staying with another person in the room and you want to brush your teeth or something, it's not like you can go into the bathroom and shut the door. The sink and the mirror is in the room. And yeah, so that was weird. The layout of the room is awkward. The room itself is bigger than the Riviera Tower Studios, but the bathroom is split so that the bathroom sink is in the room, which I don't love.
Yeah, that's
weird.
Yeah, but we also saw a 2-bedroom villa and a studio, and they're simply gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And in that resort, I always think like I would like a higher room, but in that resort, they showed us a room that was on the second floor, and we were in there talking to the DVC guide, and there was something about looking out the window and seeing like the top of the palm trees just outside the window. And I was like, wow, this is like the perfect, I would want the second floor because you just look out the window, you've got palm trees swaying in the wind. Like, how nice is that? So they're gorgeous. Yeah. So then the next day was a Hollywood Studios day. I met up with some friends. I spent some time at the 50s Prime Time bar.
And what do you think?
The bartenders there, apparently they're legendary because there were people on either side of me at the bar that are like regulars at that bar. They go to that bar for the bartenders there who have been there for like 10, 20 years. And so it was very interesting conversation. And this is one of the things I love about, even if you're solo, like just strolling up to a Disney bar and talking to the guests on either side of you, just seeing where they're from, talking to just people and seeing, what they do. And it was just nice conversation. And the bartenders there were really good.
I had a great afternoon there after Princess Weekend one year with Phil and Reggie and oh my gosh, who else was there? And it's going to come to me later, but yeah, but they definitely knew the bartenders and they definitely knew they knew what was going on. So
then Jennifer and I went over to either the Swan or the Dolphin. Now, in the days before New Year's Eve, I went to the spa there to get a manicure, and Jennifer was going to do the same. So I can't remember if it's the Swan or the Dolphin, but there's a Mexican restaurant in one of those. Don't sleep on it. It's called Rosa Mexicano. And it's very good. I just walked up to the bar, had a really good margarita, had lunch there, had some tacos at the bar. It's one of the few places that gives you chips and salsa for free, like on the house, because I feel like everywhere now you're having to pay for that. So I really enjoyed the food there. It's quite good, and the margaritas are good, and I'm a sucker for a margarita. So we had a bit of a lunch there, and then we walked over to the cake bake shop. because as you know, at the Swan and Dolphin, it's walking distance to the boardwalk. And I said, come on, Jennifer, let's go check out the cake bake shop before they take down their Christmas decorations, because it's supposed to be very sparkly and Christmassy in there. We did not have a reservation. It was no problem. We walked up and went to the bar and sat at the bar. I ordered the Black Swan Martini, which is an espresso martini. It was delicious. And I ordered a life-changing peanut butter mousse pie. Now, I know everyone complains about the cake bake shop and their $25 slices of cake, but I ordered like the $14, $15 slice of peanut butter mousse pie. And Jennifer and I shared it. And like we took the first bite and we looked at each other and we're like, oh my God. All we said for the next few minutes, like, oh my gosh, this is so good. So yeah, it was an experience, so much so that we went back the next day with her husband. We dragged him there, and it's totally not his vibe. It's super sparkly and white and really, it's very like a feminine atmosphere, but he enjoyed the drinks there. And I can't remember, I think they got a dessert as well. But yeah, if you get a chance, go to the cake bake shop, go sit at the bar, get yourself a Black Swan martini and the peanut butter mousse pie, and you can thank me later.
So a little backstory. Cheryl told me about this when we were there in the corral, and my daughter and I went over, and I got to, it's fantastic, right? I got the brownie because I actually went in there and I was like, man, this brownie really looks good. And the guy who was helping started telling us the story how they make this brownie. And at the end, I was like, all right, give me the brownie, man. I mean, you sold it. And I think my daughter got something else. I can't remember what she got, but we got it and just went back to the room to eat it, and it was great. So yeah, people complain about the prices, but I think it's well worth it, right? I mean, it's good. I'll just leave it like that. So thank you, Cheryl, for telling me about it, because we got it.
Everyone says the quality there is just top notch. So
I'm not even a sweets person. Like, as I said to you before, I skip the cookie crawl. Like desserts I'd rather order another appetizer than get into dessert. But I do love peanut butter and chocolate. And yeah, this peanut butter pie was.
Yeah, remember, Cheryl, when we were at the Top of the World Lounge and we were trying to, they were giving each one of us this gigantic slice of cake, like huge. We didn't each need this gigantic slice of cake. And we're like, can we trade that for an appetizer, please? Like, can we do something? And they're like, no, you each have to have a giant slice of cake. And yeah, it was kind of silly. So
yeah.
They wouldn't let us trade. I'm like, the app, French fries have to be cheaper than this gigantic slice of cake. I'm sorry, but anyway, rules are rules, apparently. That was a crazy night too. They weren't going to let us all sit together. We really had to work our magic that night, didn't we, Cheryl?
Oh yeah, I was like, I flew all the way from Switzerland to hang out with Jody and Tim and the kids, and you can't make us sit at separate tables.
That was a fun night too. But anyway, okay, back to, you went to the cake bake shop. It was great. You convinced Lonnie to go to the cake bake shop.
Yeah.
One of these days I'm going to make it there. Although I can get to the one in Indianapolis in an hour and a half. So that may be because my best friend lives there. So I may be heading that direction first before I make my way down to the one at Disney World. So
that would be cool.
There you go. I mean, to Cheryl's point, it is very pretty inside as well. I walked in, I was like, this is actually it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, the chandeliers, the stuff, the display cases, I was like, this is actually really nice. I see why it took so long to build it.
It's like a fairyland in there.
Yeah.
It feels very fairy tale-ish. Yeah. So the next day was an Epcot day. I had lunch at Connections. It was very crowded though. It was hard at this point, the parks are very crowded. It was hard to find a place to sit, but eventually I found a place to sit, had a good lunch. And at this point, oh, wait a minute. I skipped something very important. I'm going to rewind a day because, we did on Monday, we did a wine tasting at Wine Bar George with George. So,
and this killed me. So Cheryl invited us to join her for this, only we were arriving on Tuesday and he only offers this on Monday. And like, I almost was like, can we switch our flights to go on a day earlier? Which we wouldn't have been able to because there was this terrible, horrible snowstorm here. So there's no way we would have made it anyway. So it was, I guess, the right call. But I really want to do this. So Cheryl, please tell us about your experience at Wine Bar George with George, who's awesome.
Yeah. So it's my second time doing it. So Jennifer and I had done it before, but our husband had not done it. So we wanted to bring him along. And the nice thing about the wine tasting with George at Wine Bar George is that it's repeatable because he doesn't do the same wines. He always switches up the wines. So you taste 6 wines and you get a beautiful charcuterie board at your table to share with your table mates. Now, it was just the 3 of us at one table. If you know Wine Bar George, you sit upstairs, sort of in the back room. There were maybe like 15 of us max, and it's an hour and a half experience. The first time I did it, he spent over 2 hours with us. This time it was also 2 hours, and he apologized. He had a hard stop because he had a meeting after 2 hours, but he's very generous with his time. If you haven't been to Wine Bar George, you need to go. For me, it is like the place to go to in Disney Springs. And it's because of that man. He's amazing. He's a master sommelier. There's only like 270 or something master sommeliers in the world. So he knows his stuff. And you can see, the nice thing about the wine tasting is you can see how much he enjoys teaching and telling you about the wines. And he tells you about what it was like for him to become a master sommelier, why he got interested in wine. He tells you how to send back a bottle of wine. If you order a bottle of wine in a restaurant and you don't like it, he says, you don't feel bad, you send it back. He goes, you can be sure that in the back, the sommelier is going to taste it and see maybe if they agree with you or not. But he says, it doesn't matter. If it's not to your liking, then we get you a different bottle. And he says that's sort of the standard, that should be the standard approach in any restaurant, not just his. So yeah, we went through with 3 whites, 3 reds. He tells you how to look, how to, what he smells and all these, and tells you all these different tastes that you should at least experience in the wine. I don't know if my taste buds are as sophisticated as his, but it is absolutely an enjoyable experience, and I can only highly recommend it.
Oh,
I would
okay.
also
So this is
add,
only on Mondays?
So if you go on his website and go under events, it's
Okay.
typically on Mondays. There might also be a second day in the week that they do it. And obviously it's not during the super busy times of the year. So like around Christmas time, they didn't offer it. But so it's only offered certain times a year, but it's offered frequently enough that you would have a good chance of catching it on your next trip if it's not during a super peak holiday season.
I would also say follow his Instagram page. He has been doing some great little 1 to 2 minute videos about different varietals of wine and different things. I've learned so much, and I've taken his stuff and taken screenshots of the words and gone to my wine store and say, I would like this. Can you help me find this? And so he's really, if you are even remotely interested in wine, I would give his Instagram page a follow because and you all know I have an Instagram page that I only follow things I don't know how to post because my teenager still hasn't taught me. So I don't know what I'm doing on Instagram, but I like following everybody on Instagram and seeing all their stuff. I just don't know how to do things on my own, but his are fantastic. So I also love George, and he's great. So
yeah, I've been going to his restaurant since it opened, and I'm a big fan of his because first of all, he's often there. Like 9 times out of 10 when I go, he's there. And he's working. I've seen him bussing tables. I've seen him cleaning up spills. I've seen him seating people. I've seen him serving people. He doesn't have this, he doesn't just sit in the back and think he's too good for it. He pitches in. He's watching what's going on and he pitches in where he needs to pitch in to make it an enjoyable experience for his guests. And yeah, he's really a star. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to go follow him on Instagram. Then I'm going to see. I have a trip coming up about 92 days. I have to see if I can get him sign up for it.
I highly recommend it, Lonnie. You will love it. You love it.
And then the next day was Tuesday, January 7th.
Yeah.
What
So
happened that day?
this is when my Disney friends started coming in, and I was in Epcot that day. That was the Busy Connections lunch, which was fine. And then I went to La Cava, and some of my running friends came, and we had drinks in La Cava.
You saw
And then,
Rick there, right? Our friend
yeah,
Rick? Yeah.
yeah, I was with Rick there, and then I had a late night dinner by myself at the bar at Enzo's Hideaway. I really love their eggplant parm there. So I went and had eggplant parm. And then I took the bus back to my resort and met up with Jody and Tim up at Topolino's. And Rick also joined. And so I think our intention was, let's have a drink together. And then we ended up sitting with Jody and Tim as they had dinner at Topolino's. And it was wonderful, just to catch up as we hadn't seen each other in a while. And we got to watch them enjoy their meal. At that point, I'd already eaten, so I wasn't hungry, but they were very cool about it in the restaurant, that I just had a drink and sat with them. And I said,
And you have a good tip for Topolino's. If you can't get a reservation, what is your tip?
Go, you know me, go walk up to the bar. You can sit at the bar, or actually, it's more than just the bar in Topolino's. Any of the restaurant that does not have a rug, because it's the bar plus the tables in that bar area. They're high top tables. They will serve you the full menu, even if you're just sitting at the bar. So if you can't get a reservation and you're a small group, just stroll up there and you can get yourself a table in the area where there's no carpet.
And the views up there are amazing, and you can see the fireworks. And I mean, I would definitely, if that's a hard reservation to get, and if you're a couple, or even, I mean, the four of us probably could have just stayed at the bar and had our dinner. Now we had a reservation, and they made our 2 top a 4 top, which was great. So, but I'm just saying, like, that is I know people used to do that at Cali Grill, and I don't think they're letting really anyone do that anymore. Is just go up there and have a drink and have an app or two. But at Topolino, you can still do it. You can order the full menu from the bar.
And the bar there is surprisingly not crowded. Yeah, you can usually get a seat there. So, and then Run Disney week actually begins, and the next day we have Expo. So I rope dropped the Expo with Joe Fickus and got in there early because I had my eye on some merch, some lug bags. So got in there, bought my merch, and then just felt overwhelmed by the crowds. Now I was only signed up for Goofy. Something wrong with that. But anyway, I was only signed up for Goofy, so I was not in a rush to get my bib. So after the merch and all the crowds, I was like, you know what? I'm going to come back tomorrow for my bib. So I just got out of there. Went back to the hotel. And then I had, that night I had dinner at the bar at Summer House. Now, Summer House in Disney Springs also has a very good happy hour. It's called the Martini Hour. It's probably the only place in Florida that you can get a $10 martini. So you have to be sitting at the bar for this happy hour. I don't quote me on the date. I think it's weekdays between like 3 and 6. Don't quote me on that. Look it up on the website. But it's something like that. And you can get a gin martini, a vodka martini, an espresso martini for $10. They also offer another mixed drink, plus very discounted beer and wine. And they have a very good food menu that's very inexpensive, which includes pizza, chicken fingers, bottomless truffle fries. So at this point, I'm there a long time. I'm looking to save a buck. So I went and I had dinner there at the bar. And I can highly recommend it. Yeah. If you're looking for a nice place to get a drink and a bite to eat for a little bit less expensive, check out their happy hour.
Good tip.
Good tip. Yeah. Summer House. I mean, I've never been, heard great things about it. And I remember when it was opening up, and I think on the show, we talked about it as being one of the places we want to try in 2025. So yeah, I will definitely try it.
It's good. It's very good. And it's a beautiful atmosphere there. The next day was when I met up with you guys for breakfast at Ale and Compass. It was the 5K day. Now, I did not partake in the 5K. But I met up with the Lizards for breakfast at Ale and Compass. I got to meet Lonnie's daughter, the beautiful Caitlin, and I also got to meet Jean. First time meeting Jean. So the very
Sorry about that part. Happy that you got to meet Katie. Sorry about Jean.
We had a fun time over breakfast. We did have it. Well, we all sort of joined hands in a moment of sorrow when we found out the blueberry pancakes with bacon were no longer on the menu.
Gene's still fussing about that, by the way. I was talking to him like last week, and he mentioned about not having those pancakes, and I'm like, dude, it's been like, now he needs to let it go like Elsa. It was literally a while ago.
Like the joy just left the room. Like we were all like, what?
and he said, man, because you know what, I got that salty chicken, and I wouldn't have got it. It was so salty, and I was like, all right, man. I mean, I got you. Next time we'll do something different.
Yeah, but it was fun. The company was great. And
the company made it worthwhile. Yes.
Yeah. And then I from the yacht club where Ellen Compass is, I went back to the expo, which was tricky. I didn't know where to get the bus from. I thought it was where the other resort buses were going, but no, you had to walk like a mile through the yacht club convention center and then take a bus from there to the expo. So I ended up Ubering because I don't have patience. Went back to the expo, got my bib. And then that evening, I thought, I'm in the mood for soup. So I went back to Disney Springs, as I do. And I had the chicken and dumpling soup at Art Smith's. Just strolled up. Again, if you're solo, it's easy. Just strolled up to the bar at Art Smith's and ordered the chicken and dumpling soup. It was exactly what I wanted. I wanted like something cozy, something warm, because it was chilly. And then I hung out with my friends at their treehouse.
Yeah,
so they're still here.
It was a busy Thursday.
So yeah, and at this point, I'm there for a couple weeks, and I think I can count the number of attractions I went on. I mean, it was probably about 7, maybe. So you can see where my priorities are.
I love it though. It's great.
Yeah.
I had good. I go to Disney to hang out with my friends. So wherever that leads us, it's usually surrounded by food, centered around food. So we had a good time. Then January 10th, then I went to Hollywood Studios. I'm now the day before my first race. So this is the day of the 10K, which I did not run, but I was running the half marathon next day. So I thought I'll take it easy. I'm just going to Skyliner into Hollywood Studios. I ended up at Baseline Tap House with everyone. Like it randomly I'm in 3 different running groups, and like people from each of the running groups ended up showing up there. I saw you there, Jody, that day.
Yeah, I was there. Yep.
Yeah. So it was a fun time. And then I thought, really, wow, after a couple hours, I was like, I need to get myself out of here, get some food in me, and go to bed. So I had spaghetti and meatballs at Enzo's Hideaway, and then went back to my room and went to bed early because next day was the half marathon day. So
the rainy half marathon.
Yeah. So even though I live in Switzerland, actually where I live in Switzerland in Basel, it's not that cold. Well, it's like winter cold, but it's like in the 40s. It's not like an hour and a half away in the Alps where it's all snowy. We don't get a lot of snow here. So the cold in Florida did not sit with me well. I had it, not only that, but the morning of the half marathon, as you know, it was also wet. So I'm in the corrals. I've got a poncho on. I'm sitting on the ground. And like, I'm just like in like a turtle sitting on the ground. And I was sitting there thinking like, oh my God, the wind and the wetness is going through my armholes on my poncho. And this is like the beauty of Run Disney. There was some woman next to me. I did not know her. And she was like, can I help you? Can I tie knots in your armholes? And I'm like, that is the nicest offer anyone could offer me right now. So she tied knots in my armholes so that I was sealed in. And I don't know who this woman is. I never saw her again after the corrals, but she was lovely, and she made my time in the corrals warmer and drier. And then I ran the half. I ran the half on my own. So I usually run on my own. that will change the next day when I tell you about the marathon. But I knew I wanted to save my legs, so I didn't kill myself, but I enjoyed the race. I loved it. I loved the course. I loved the electrical water pageant going into Magic Kingdom. I remember my first time at Disney, I was 5 years old. I remember the electrical water pageant. And yeah, it's very sentimental for me. So that for me was the highlight of the run.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I love it too. It's special.
And then next day, I was the marathon, and now I'm a little stressed. I have a little bit of anxiety. It's not my first marathon, but it's my first goofy. So I've never done this back to back before. And I had sprained my ankle the end of October, so I missed 3 weeks of training. I was able to get back into training and kind of get back to where I was, but I was still nervous about it. And I was very lucky to hang out. And we did our lizard meetup in the morning, took our photo, and then I hung out with Lonnie and Katie in the corrals. And that really helps to have, someone to hang out with to pass that time, because for me it's an anxious time. You're thinking, oh my gosh, here we are, can I do it? And it was cold. It was cold. I lined my body with those hot hands to the point where like I had burn marks on me, because like the hot hands fell against the magnets on my bib, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting scalded on my abdomen. It was from my hot hands heating up my bib magnets, but I didn't care. I think I was 8 miles into the run and I was still shedding hot hands. They were just coming out of me.
I actually said it was colder than, and I was told I was wrong. But I was told by Jody, no, it wasn't that cold. And I was like, it was freezing for the full marathon. I was cold like the whole time in the corral. I was cold when we started. I mean, I didn't really warm up until we ran past the electric water parade. We're going into Magic Kingdom. Is when I finally just like shed one layer, the first layer. I was like, it's just still too cold out here. And I took my gloves off, put them right back on, because it's got cold again. So it was just a crazy full marathon. I don't know. It was just madness.
It was. I had a neck scarf on, like a neck warmer, and I crossed the finish line with it on. And usually that neck warmer at a certain point, I like tear it off during the run, and it's light, it's small, I could stick it in my pocket, but I crossed the finish line with that on. It was cold. I don't love cold. So for me, the weather wasn't great. But that was the first run I did though, where I ran with people, and it happened around like, I think mile 3, we were still in Epcot, and I ran into Joe Fickus, Rachel, Laura and her husband, Sean, and Laura Hennigan. And I know Rachel and Joe quite well. I know Laura as well. And I was like, hey, you guys seem to be running like a run walk interval that jives with mine. So I joined them, and yeah, it was a very special experience. We finished the race together. And I have to shout out to them and thank them, because I would say that race, I was good all through Magic Kingdom. And then like after Magic Kingdom, when we got to the halfway point, it was a struggle in my mind knowing that, okay, we're at the half marathon mark. I did this distance yesterday. I just did it again. And now I have to do it again. Yeah. And I think my fueling wasn't right. And I just started to really struggle at that half marathon point. And kudos to them. I asked them, I was like, hey, can we dial it back? Can we slow down a little bit? And they were really nice that they accommodated me. And then I was introduced to sport beans. At a certain point in the race, they were handing out sports beans, and I was afraid to try them because I was like, I've never had them. You shouldn't try anything new when you're racing. And they encouraged me. I'll give them a try. There's nothing, horrible in these. And then like I got my pep back in my step. It was like, go, go, go. And I felt good. So I realized that my struggle was my fueling I wasn't fueling enough. so yeah, we continued. We got to Animal Kingdom. We took a conscious break there where we stopped to buy snacks. I got the best bag of barbecue potato chips I've ever eaten. Like they've never tasted so good. They should not have tasted as good as they tasted, but it was wonderful. And we continued on. Then I started to fade again in that parking lot.
Oh, Blizzard
That
Beach.
parking lot.
But I saw you right before then.
I
Well,
did see
you know, is it the Blizzard Beach one, or was it the one when you came out of
Blizzard Beach.
Is it Blizzard Beach? Okay, because I had one you had to come out of, and you went. It's like
That
you
was
saw.
Magic Kingdom. When we had to do a parking lot loop after Magic Kingdom too.
Yes. Oh, that loop was the
That
one.
was my first struggle. That was the
Mhm.
struggle number one. And struggle number two came at Blizzard Beach. But then they handed out the beans in Blizzard Beach parking lot.
Mhm.
And I got the beans again. And then because I had already asked them now a second time, hey, can we dial it back? And they made me feel so good about it. They're like, yeah, we were going to do it anyway. And I'm like, yeah, no, you weren't, but that's nice of you to say. They were so nice. And then I got the beans and they were like, can someone slow her down? She's what happens, you know?
I've never tried the beans. Maybe I should. Like,
Oh, I like the beans. I like the beans.
They should contact me to do a commercial because the response I had to these sports beans was incredible. So then I finished the rest of the race feeling quite good and quite strong, and we finished together. And that was my goal because the last marathon I did, which was my first marathon at Disney a few years back, I crossed the finish line and I felt very poorly. I did not feel well when I finished that marathon. I thought to myself, this time I'm going to slow myself down, and I want to finish and feel good. So
that marathon, Cheryl, was hot. The one that you
yeah,
that's
when I first met you and Tim on the course.
But I didn't know who you were.
Well, I knew. I kind of see you're kind of celebrity status, so I knew who you were. You didn't know me. That's okay. But the funny thing was, we were together for quite a bit of that marathon, but the difference was Jody and Tim stopped for every character photo and I did not, but they managed to keep catching up to me as I was much slower.
I will never forget, like, I think you asked me if I was okay because it was after Animal Kingdom and Tim went to the bathroom and I was standing there by myself doing whatever, and like it was hot and I don't think that I realized like who you were, what your name was. I was like, yeah, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just waiting for my husband. Or I was probably kind of snarky because I was annoyed with him, like taking time, But that was the only year we've run our full marathon together. And that's when I realized I need people. Like in particular for a full marathon, I need other people because we've been married a long time. We know each other's stories. Like we need other people. Like we don't, when it's just the two of us, it's not as, we need friends. So if you ever see us on the race course, please be our friend. Because
you don't tell Tim that you want to see other people, right? No, it's not that. I just want to make sure how you bring this conversation up to him.
The two of us together need running friends while we're running. How about that?
Okay.
Is that
I like that one better. Okay.
Well, Cheryl, I'm so glad you ran into other friends. That I think doing a full marathon by yourself is terrible. And I think doing it with friends makes it 1,000 times better. In particular at a Disney race, it just brings joy and happiness and makes the time go by because you're sharing stories and talking and you're, all of a sudden you're like, oh, look where we are. So I'm so glad you ran into them and that you were able to run with a group, and what a lovely group to run with. Like what great people. So good for you.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I'm so grateful to them. They really were a fantastic crew to be able to join. So it was great. And then, I quickly went back to we did some photos together. I went back to my room, took a very quick shower, which you really should not rush the post-marathon shower.
You should.
But I did the best I could. And then I had lunch with friends in a different running group over at Via Napoli and Epcot. And that was a great crew. And there's some overlap in that group with the lizards as well. And we had a wonderful lunch together. And then we met up with the head of a charity that group had raised money for. And that group had raised $25,000 for a children's cancer charity called
Wow.
Base. So it's pretty special.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is cool.
And
So
then I went
you did not come to the fireworks party that night, right?
no.
You were at the meetup on Saturday at the Contemporary.
I was.
But you didn't come to the fireworks party. All right.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So, but then the rest of us all had to leave. So Monday, I went to Epcot, did some photos, rode Guardians a couple times. And then we had to get on a plane. Lonnie, you got on a plane on Monday morning.
Sure did.
Cheryl, you didn't get on a plane yet.
No, I rope dropped the Magic Kingdom photographers to get my medal. So that, with a gazillion other runners, had the same idea, but I was able to get some photos in. And then what does Cheryl do? She goes to Disney Springs to celebrate. And I was like, I am going to treat myself to a glass of champagne at Wine Bar George, because for me, that is my personal tradition. When I finish a Run Disney race or a Run Disney challenge, I go to Wine Bar George. I just pull up to the bar, get a seat, and order myself a glass of champagne. And this is now Monday, so it wasn't very crowded. I walked in and I got a seat at the bar, and George was there, and he saw me with my medal. And I've been going there for quite a bit, so he remembers me. He also remembers that I live in Europe, and I happen to live right next to a very famous wine region in France. It's literally like 10 minutes away. So we've gotten to talking about French and German wines. And he came up to me and I said, yeah, I'm here he saw my medals and congratulated me. And I said, yeah, I'm here for my celebratory glass of champagne. And he goes, well, you're going to get a glass of champagne from me on the house. He goes, you've earned it. And he also acknowledged, he's like, you come back here time and time again over the years. And he goes, it's also my way of saying thank you for coming here. So I thought that was really very special. He got a nice bottle of champagne from the back, showed it to me and poured it for me, and yeah, pretty special experience.
Yeah, I was there Sunday and also saw him. I did not get a special glass of champagne. I got champagne, the one that I ordered, but I did not get a special glass of champagne. So I think you.
Well, I mean, you're a celebrity, so you should be able to get your own. I mean,
Cheryl's the celebrity with George, so
yes.
People always just remember that I live in Switzerland. It's nothing about me. It's just about where I live.
No, it's about you. That's awesome. That sounds like a great day.
So yeah, I ended up having lunch there, and then I created my own wine tasting. I decided I'm going to try some whites, and then he collected them and poured them for me and walked me through all the tasting notes. So I felt like I had my own little personal wine tasting with George, which was really nice. So yeah, and that's pretty much how I finished off my day. At this point, my ankle started swelling, the one that I sprained a few months back. It was not happy with me, but I went back to my room. I packed up my luggage because I was leaving the next day. So the next day I checked out. I had my flight wasn't until the afternoon, so I did Epcot in the morning, and then went back to the resort, went to the hotel, and made the long journey home. I left the resort like after lunchtime, and I got home lunchtime the next day. So it's a fight back. It's never good. First of all, your vacation is behind you. It's always a night flight going back to Europe also. So you typically don't sleep well on the airplane. You wake up, you're in yesterday's clothes. Nobody's brushed their teeth. It's like, it's a rough journey. And it's one of the reasons why when I go to Disney, I try to stay for at least 10 days to 2 weeks, because the journey there and the journey back, first of all, the flights are expensive, and it takes a long time. Mm-hmm. This particular trip was an anomaly that I was able to do it so long because it fell over the holidays. You're probably thinking, how do I get all this time off of work? I mean, it is.
Well, you were working for part of it. You told us that.
I mean, you worked.
Yeah, I did work for part of it. And then also in Switzerland, I turned 50 this year. And in Switzerland, it's like
all the best people turn 50 this year, Cheryl. All the best people do.
So you got to move to Switzerland, Jody, because in Switzerland, it's the law that when you turn 50, you have to get an extra week of vacation, probably because they think you're so old, you need more time to recover. I don't.
Wow.
So I had an extra week of vacation this year to play with. So that's good.
There you go.
That's crazy.
And that was the end of my epic trip. I had to buy an extra suitcase because I bought my stuff the time I was there. But to summarize it, it was wonderful. It was great to have time with friends. I missed my son immensely, but we FaceTimed all the time while we were there, and he was living his best life, snowboarding and St. Moritz. And then at a certain point, when we got into the Run Disney period, he's back in school anyway, so he wouldn't have been able to come with me. But it was a wonderful time. It was expensive. So I have DVC, so my hotels were mostly, it was booked through DVC points, but just to be away from home and to eat out all the time is expensive, which is why I was looking for those like happy hour deals and stuff.
Yeah, because the tower studios, the dual studios, and the one bedroom or the studios don't have full kitchens, so it's not like you could prepare. They've got little fridge, but they don't have, you can make meals per se.
Correct. I will say the Tower Studio, it does have a fridge, it has a microwave, it has a toaster, and it has a coffee pot. So it's not bad.
Yeah.
No, you don't have the full kitchen.
Yeah. Well,
But I would like to save some money. I would, if I had leftovers at a meal, I would definitely bring them back to my room, put them in the fridge, and then heat them up in the microwave the next day.
Yeah.
Ate a lot of quick service. But yeah, you think you're there, you're doing this run, you're running a half marathon and a full marathon, but no, there's no weight loss. No.
No, never.
No.
So you're going back in a couple of weeks, but as far as Run Disney, are you eyeing any race weekends coming up this year or next year?
Yeah, if I can be lucky with registration on Tuesday, I will register for the challenge at Wine and Dine. That would be my next one, if I get lucky.
We're hoping to go too, Cheryl.
Somebody who's doing that one. I think I do know somebody who's doing it.
Hopefully. But did you hear? I got summoned to jury duty on Tuesday, and Tim is slammed at work. So our really good friend Dave is going to try to register us for us because, I don't know what to expect. Like I could be, who knows? So yeah, hoping to do the challenge. I don't want to do the 5K. I'm not interested in the 5K.
No.
So we're just gonna
I'll just do the challenge.
Bonnie, are you gonna run it? You were talking about it at one point in time.
Yeah, but I think I'm just gonna wait because I signed up for Disneyland Halloween one, so I'm gonna do that.
Perfect. Yay. Well, best
I
of
need that Coast to Coast medal. It looks so cool. I need that Coast to Coast medal. So there you go.
I know that Coast to Coast is really nice fun. Good luck on Tuesday. And by the time you all hear this episode, by the time you all hear this episode, this will be weeks after registration. So hopefully Cheryl and I will be beaming with great news. So all right. That was awesome. Thank you for sharing your trip with us. I mean, life goals, seriously. Walt Disney World, Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney World, the holidays, the running, Run Disney. You did it all and then some, and had a lot of great time with friends and special people. And yeah, I'm glad that I got to see you for a part of it. And you always make me smile. So that brought me great joy, but it sounds like you just had a great time. So if anyone has a very extended trip to Disney and wants to hear some tips, I'm sure, Cheryl shared some great things like the happy hours and things like that, how to save some money. But if you want any more, feel free to reach out to her. So I'm sure she'd be happy to share.
Happy to. Thank you.
All right. So now we go to the part of the show that's arguably maybe the best besides Cheryl's interview, and that is Quacking Up with the Ducks. So, Cheryl, we will start off with you since you're our guest and shared so many great tips with us. Can you quack us up?
Yes. Well, maybe. Let's see. Which Disney princess would you say would make the best judge?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That would be Snow White because she's the fairest of them all.
That's a good one. I didn't know. That's a good one.
I got you on that one.
You got me. Mm-hmm. Jody, I don't envy you. You have to follow that one up.
I know. Okay, so anybody know where sharks like to spend their holiday vacation?
No.
Fins to the left, fins to the right. They're going to Finland. I know, so dumb.
What made it so good is the actual you doing the fin dance. That's what you guys come to Facebook. You have to see the fin dance. So speaking of wine bar, George, why is it so cheap to throw a party at a haunted house?
I don't know why.
Because the ghosts bring all the booze.
Oh, they do. They can invite me. I'll go.
I will go as well. So once again, thank you, Cheryl, so much for joining us today and sharing your epic, allowing us to be part of your epic month at Disney World with your sea, land vacation. And guys, look, I don't know how to follow it up. It's life goals for me. That's what I got. Usually Gene would be on and would share what our lawyers would say to us. But since he's not on, usually he's the one that gets us in trouble with the lawyers. He's not on. So we're good to go, right? So with that being said, thanks for joining us. Jody, did I miss anything?
Stay tuned on Facebook. See what fun we're doing over there.
There you go. She got to keep me honest. So thanks everyone for joining us today, and Quarini.
Bye, friends.
Bye.